Hello there and welcome back to the Raw Bikes Workshop. Today we're going to talk about a bit of a Tunisia debrief and what's going on with my engine. A couple of things that happened in Tunisia is salt and a flip which basically messed up my engine. A few of you have contacted me, quite a few of you have contacted me and asked me what's going on with the engine, So I thought I'd do a quick shorty, a short video that is, on what's gone on. So as you can see, the bike's in bits. Since I got it back, stripped it down, taken the engine to HM Racing, the guys that put the top end together, and said to them help. So they're in the process of stripping it down and have now just got it all apart and given me some information. So I'll start with the engine. The bottom line is that the bottom end got affected. It looks like, in my wisdom, when I rebuilt the engine, I just did the top end and didn't really go into the bottom end. Obviously did the filters and cleaned out what I could, had a quick inspection around it, but it all seemed good at the bottom end as far as I could see without actually going into the engine. Everything seemed fine, gearbox working fine, blah blah blah. But what happened that during the flip, when I turned the bike upside down, and some of you may have seen the previous video in Tunisia where the bike was upside down, is that there was a small piece of hardened steel debris in the bottom of the engine. I didn't know it was there. In my wisdom, before I did the engine rebuild, I bought one of those magnetic sump plugs, and good old James reminded me that I should have put it in, and I didn't. It might have caught it. But anyway, this piece of steel flipped up, went into the balancing gear at the bottom of the big end, the balancing gear that goes onto the balancing part of the shaft. As it's a single, it needs a balancing part to stop it vibrating itself to pieces. And it caused a bit of damage in the tooth down there. And in fairness to James, I think he was probably the only one that spotted it. He got his little earpiece out during Tunisia and said, "It sounds bottom end to me." And everyone else thought it was top end. So well done, James. It was the bottom end. So, and it also has caused a bit of damage on the third gear. So at the moment, the bike engine, I should say, is with HM. They've got it in pieces. I'll be popping down there shortly over the next few days. Catch up with Steve, and hopefully we can give you a bit more detail of what's going on. I'm very interested to get the bike 100% done. As you know, I'm very fussy with that type of thing. While we're on the engine, I thought I'd mention, I don't know if you remember from the rebuild video, again I'll put a link down there. So this is my casing. Do you remember that piece there? A little bit of JB Weld that's on the final drive. So final drive, gears there, goes that way around, cover plate goes on. Historically, the cover plate had broken, probably a chain had come flying off, smashed the cover plate, broke that part there. So I ended up putting a bit of JB Weld. It's actually held very well, as you can see. It's really quite good. I'll get it nice and close to the lens there. You can see it. It's actually held together very, very well. But to do it properly, I've decided to take it along to Exactweld. But that's the other side of where the JB Weld came through on the casing. Looks like a bit of a dollop there come through, but that's me pressing it through. So it was clearly right the way through into that point, so that's what we got to get welded. So what I've got to do is, Exactweld, they're a company that obviously is expert welders. I've got to burr all that off. They don't want that left on, so I'm going to burr all that off, which I'll crack on with in a bit. And then once that's done, I'll take that in and get that TIG welded. So that's then perfect, hopefully. Get that done, and then take it back to HM so they can reassemble it. So what parts are needed? So unfortunately, it's going to need a whole new bottom end. The main bearing where the gear goes on the end it's not you can't separate it. So the balance gear is part of the big end. So that's going to need a whole new big end and the third gear. So those bits with various other bearings are on order, a few seals as well. So, but again, I'll walk you through with Steve shortly. The other thing I've noticed, and I'll do a little bit of close up in a minute, is when I stripped the bike apart, there was an awful lot of corrosion from the salt. So I've been going through cleaning all that off as well, and polishing it back off. Even some of the parts that I had plated, the salt got into that as well. So all I would say is that the conditions in the Tunisian salt lakes, the dried up, well, supposed to be dried up salt lakes, as you saw, were very wet, were really bad on the motorbike. There's a couple of areas I've started polishing already. I managed to get the exhaust back up and polished using a couple of things like polishing brushes, which are very good. They zip on along on the brush on the exhaust there and clean it up. But generally the bike's in pretty good order. The frame stuff and the suspension and that's all good. You know, what I will say is what I've noticed a huge difference is where I've used marine grade stainless steel bolts versus the Honda bolts. The marine grade steel was untouched. It looked like brand new steel coming back from the desert. The Honda bolts, going rusty already, to be honest. Anyway, that's a little update so far. I'm trying to get the bike ready for Morocco 2025. So fingers crossed I can get the engine all back together to get it on the lorry. And that's about it. So let's make our way down to HM. Here we are with Steve in the workshop, and the engine is now back together. Fantastic. And we found the culprit, and Steve's just going to run through what he's done and what he found in the engine. So fabulous.
Yeah, what stopped you, presumably when the thing was upside down in the sand, was a piece of debris going in and getting caught on the meshing gears of the crankshaft and the balance shaft. It's gone in between these two gears. You can actually see the damage there if the camera's up to it. Indented probably a piece of gearbox, just gone into the tooth there and been compressed in and caused a horrible knocking noise. I mean, ironically, it would have improved and you could have probably finished, but of course you didn't know that. I'm sure it sounded absolutely awful. So while it was down, you had a donor engine to look at, and the gearbox was significantly better. So we've changed the gearbox complete.
That's good.
The mechanism.
So just saying that the entire gearbox you put in?
Change the whole gearbox, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
it looks in incredibly good condition, your second one.
Right. Okay.
And we swapped the crank out in its entirety with the balance shaft, obviously, because those were the two damaged parts. Stuck a main bearing in it, I think a couple of gearbox bearings as well.
Right.
So yeah, that should be good to go now.
I saw on the invoice that you put a new cam chain in as well.
Oh yeah. It just going down that far, it would be silly not to. It's actually a very light one on an XR. Right. So it's a good opportunity to get a fresh one in there.
Fabulous.
And hopefully that will see you through.
Fabulous. So basically, we've had a complete bottom end rebuild.
Yes.
With donor parts from the engine I managed to salvage.
Correct.
And the gearbox is in better condition.
Yes,
and
you've come out with a better gearbox.
Yeah.
And a better crank. The crank feels perfect on that one. So
ironically,
it should be a better job for you.
Fabulous. Okay, I look forward to getting it back in the bike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Cheers. Brilliant.
Cheers.
Excellent, as always. Welcome back in the workshop. Right. So the rear wheel. If you take a look at that, I don't know if you can see it there. That's the end result of the wheel that I had to take apart. The rear wheel was really corroded with this salt and sand that got in going through the bog of doom as it was on my last video. So this has all come apart. I've given it a good clean up. I had to take a couple of spokes out. Got some new spokes. These guys are pretty good. Central wheel components. There you go. They sold me a few spokes. 10 I had to buy. Some left-handed and some right-handed ones. So that was a minimum order, but it wasn't too bad. But the guys at Exactweld, they put this all together. I'll flash up on the screen a picture I've got of the wheel when it was originally spotted, a bit manky. But they did a good job of welding this all up, actually. So yeah, here we go. I'll show you again. So and around the other side as well, you can see that there on the. So it's where the wheel clamp goes, and it's quite corroded. I mean, really and truly, I could do with a wheel rebuild on both back and front, me being super fussy that I am. But this will do for Sandraiders 25. So hopefully I can get it finished and put back together for that. So we're going to tackle this this bit of JB Weld. These are the tools that I was talking about. They're a bearing tool. You can buy them on eBay or any sort of tool shop or wherever really. They're fabulous. When I put the JB Weld on, to ensure that it actually went in and bit, you sort of rough it up into the crack with these tools, and that ensures that it gets a good key, and thoroughly recommend them. But I'm actually going to use these tools to take the JB Weld back out again so that they can weld it, so properly, TIG weld it I mean. So off we go. Bike's all done. It's all just about finished. Well, it is finished now. Ready to go on the lorry in a couple of days off to Morocco. Apart from the engine rebuild that you've seen there with Steve, it's also since then been on the dyno. It's putting out nearly 40 brake horsepower, which is pretty good really. It's nigh on. That's at the back wheel, so it's pretty much as new brake horsepower. Which I'm pretty pleased about. We have a very shiny back wheel. As I showed earlier, we did a bit of a weld. That didn't quite work out. After I put it together, had a little bit of a buckle in it. Couldn't really get rid of it. And I thought, rather than send it away and have someone straighten it out and put new spokes on a wheel that's 27 years old and got welding on it, I thought, I'll just get a new rim made with some new spokes. So that's what we've done. So you can see there's a new wheel there, nice shiny wheel, shiny spokes, and put a bit of Cerakote. I had some Cerakote done on the hub there, so it looks pretty much new really. What else? Done where the JB Weld was, you saw earlier. I sent the casing in to be done after it had been cleaned up from the JB Weld. That's all nicely finished off now and welded, TIG welded. So very pleased with that. Given it a good clean and pretty much got it back to where it was prior to going to Tunisia. So bike's all ready, just about done it in time. So as I say, got a couple of days to go and we're on the lorry to Morocco. A lot of people going this year, so they're scooping them up a bit early. I think there's about 70, 80. I've heard rumours of 90, but we'll see. When we get there, I'll let you know. But that's just from the UK, and I think Morocco is probably going to have over 200 in 2025. But we'll find out when we get there. So that's it on the prep and the rebuild. You know what it is now that caused the problem. Little tinky bit of hardened steel floating around down in the bottom there that was obviously lodged somewhere down at the bottom of the engine that none of us knew about, and that came out and caused that damage there on the counterbalance gearing. So anyway, it's all cleaned out. I've now got a magnetic sump plug in there as well, so I need a bit of debris. Run it 100 miles or so on the road, just to make sure that it's all good, and it is not a problem at all. Runs really sweet, so I'm really pleased. So that's it, and I'll see you in Morocco. Goat situation or lamb situation, or sorry, is that my bad? Get out of this rut. Better.